Hey guys, just wanted to quickly insert a comment before the video starts. This video is kind of like two different theories that converge in the end. The first one leads into the next, and then they both kind of make a whole theory. But once again, like I said, these aren't full-on theories. I haven't done any research. They're more like brain teasers, so trying to get too offended if I'm saying something you don't like. But anyway, hope you enjoy the video.
Hey, how's it going, YouTube? This is Apex27 bringing you another Dark Souls brain teaser. And we start here on a shot of what I think might be the bridge over Farron. I don't know though. That might not be the bridge over Farron. Because you can't, there's no arches, so I don't know if it's just like a low poly version that you can't really see very well, but anyway, it looks like it ends right there. So anyway, that's not the point of this video though. As you can see, we're in Anor Londo. Now, before I really start this brain teaser, and note that I called it a brain teaser, I want to say that these videos are not full-on theories. They're things that I thought about or noticed while I was playing, and I've noticed that they haven't really been brought up, so I figured I'd bring them up. So today we focus on maybe the first major theory that I came up with, and it relates to Anor Londo. It was triggered by Anor Londo. And it deals very heavily with Gwendolyn's illusions. So yeah, stay tuned. Cut into the first step.
Weapons and protection are sturdy enough by and large, but when overused, they'll eventually break. When their durability is low, repair becomes a necessity. Use a powder, or simply rest at a bonfire. But should chance impel them break, bring them me. I'll hammer them back into shape. They take no pleasure in breaking, I assure ye. So handle them with care, if you would. There are two ways to smith weapons. Simple reinforcement is one, and infusion the other. Reinforcement is straightforward. It strengthens a weapon without altering its property. Infusion is a more advanced form of smithing that infuses an element. Reinforcement requires titanite, and infusion requires gems. Bring the stones, and I'll do the smithing. It's my purpose, after all. In battle, your weapons are your only friends. Forge them well, and they won't let you down. Oh, by the by, if you find any Estus shards, bring them here. They can be used to reinforce either of your Estus flasks. Without those flasks, you'd want for life or focus. And they'll always stay with you. Why not treat them well? Huh?
Haven't you ever noticed that Andre of Astora is a little different in this game? Now, I know what you might be thinking, that's a little ridiculous. But it's always bothered me, because Andre is probably my favorite NPC throughout the entire Souls series. The only NPC I like more, or equal to at least, is Laurentius from Dark Souls 1, the Pyromancer. And so I paid more attention to Andre probably than a lot of other people.
Well, hello again. You seem to be doing all right. Need anything forged? Most weapons and armor are mighty sturdy indeed, but every hunk of metal has its breaking point. If you notice durability running low, it's time to repair. You can ask a blacksmith like myself, or do it on your own with a grindstone. The nice thing about weapons, they never betray you, so pay them a little respect, eh? There are two types of weapon forging. There's reinforcement and there's ascension. Reinforcement is simple. It strengthens the weapon and nothing more. A simple task for any blacksmith. Hell, you could even do it yourself with a smith box. But ascension's a finer art. It alters a weapon's properties. Ascension is the territory of we blacksmiths. A smith box just won't do the trick. Start out with reinforcement. When that loses its charm, you can consider ascension. As you've noticed, this land is flush with the mad and wicked. You won't make it through the night without employing my services. I'll be sick.
Okay. Now, did you pick that up? Did you see the difference between Andre from Dark Souls 1 and Andre from Dark Souls 3? No, you didn't? Oh, well, I did. Because like I said, he's basically my favorite NPC, and it's always bothered me. And I just chalked it up originally to it being different games and, you know, them writing a different character, the character different because it's been a while, yada yada. But hear me out on this. Andre from this game and Andre from the other game are separate Andres, but at the same time they are the same Andre, and I'm not talking about the convoluted timeline bullcrap. That has nothing to do with this. And you might figure out more about what I'm trying to say here soon. Also, did you ever notice the ceiling in here is crooked? Anyway, that's the first step. Keep this in mind. That did I even say why? Andre from this game and Andre from that game speak different. If you picked up, this Andre says you multiple times. If you paid attention, he says you. In Dark Souls 3, Andre says ye. They don't speak the same. And I know that's a minor difference. I understand it's a minor difference. But I have more respect for FromSoft than chalking it up to, oh, they just forgot to, to keep his character continuity. This is part of a bigger theory, and I want you to keep this in mind as we go along. Alright, so here comes a big one for all you skeptics out there. Look at this beautiful city. City of the Gods, Anor Londo. City of Sunlight? I don't know. I don't remember if there's other names for that, but definitely the City of the Gods. Look at this mountain range with the Duke's Archives and all of this. There's Sin's Fortress behind this wall, and the rest of Lordran, the entire damn, I don't know, country of Lordran? I don't know. Kingdom. Look at this. Vast amounts of area covered here. And I remember the first time I saw this area, I was like, oh my god, look at all these different buildings. I thought the Burg was big. This is huge. And then it turns out you only go to the castle and that's it. Which, still pretty cool, but not as cool as the rest of Anor Londo would be. Oh god. I'm trying not to fall off. Do I even have binoculars? I don't think I do. I never go pick the binoculars up. In this game, it's out of the way. Okay, well, that's too bad. But look at all that over there. It goes on forever. Anyway. We're going to cut to the... Well, I don't know if we'll cut. We'll see if we cut or not. in this whole elevator shaft. Look at this. If you're an experienced Dark Souls player, which is really the only type of player that should be watching this video, you already know all the things that aren't there in Dark Souls 3. You already know. Or the things that are missing or are placed differently. Like the Silver Knight's tomb is down there, right? And it doesn't have anything that leads to it. There's no opening in the wall that leads to a different area. Like, there's no platform down there, okay? And that's not even the biggest one. There's so many other big things that are missing. Obviously, this whole right path over here is missing. I guess I didn't open the doors in this file. I didn't do much in this file. This is one of my files where I like made a PvP build and set everything else fuck off. But yeah, this whole right pathway is gone. Yeah, I don't need to tell you that all this is gone in Dark Souls 3 because you already know. You already know it's all gone. Any treasure? No. Fuck you. It's all gone. Every last bit of it. Yeah. This whole hallway, you can't even come through here, which is whatever. But that's not even what the thing is, because it's just blocked off. It doesn't mean that it's missing. You just can't go through it. But yeah. The window's fixed up there. No, that's dumb. That could easily happen. But there's a bunch missing from Anor Londo. In Dark Souls 3. Alright, so here we are in Lost Izalith, right? This is gonna get real bad. I mean, like, this is probably the video where the most skeptics are gonna just rail me for the things I'm saying here. But many times in Dark Souls 1 has somebody hacked the game and found like a way to move around and find out, you know, if the things in Dark Souls line up the way that they seem to. And people like Illusory Wall and others have come to the conclusion that a lot of things in Dark Souls do line up. You can see different parts of the world from other parts of the world that aren't that part, and you know, they generally line up pretty much the way they need to, but occasionally they fall away from each other. They're not the way that you think that they actually are from where you can see them. You know, and there are other parts of the world that are questionable as far as like just how things work in the world. And you know, of course you can say it's FromSoft being lazy, and maybe in a way it is, you know, but I feel like there's a little more to it. And the reason we're here in Lost Izalith is because, if I'm not mistaken, this wall can be seen from the Tomb of the Giants. This wall in front of us, the dome of Izalith, where I think you know, darn, what's it called? The Bed of Chaos is. You can be seen from the Tomb of the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, and I think either the Tomb of the Giants. Honestly, I probably should have gone to the Tomb of the Giants, but the Tomb of the Giants, you can see this, and you can see Ash Lake, I think it is. And you know, it was to be somewhere where multiple parts of the world can be seen together. I'm gonna go into the hallway here so there's not as much background noise, because it feels like there's a little bit of background noise. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the world of Dark Souls is very close, tight, and knit. And while in Dark Souls 3 they do give an explanation for why the world is so close by saying that the worlds are converging on each other, the lands are converging, you know, on the site of the first flame or whatever. The Dark Souls 3 also doesn't have as many things that are unaligned, which could be partially due to better technology and FromSoft maybe just knowing their games are more popular now, so they're paying more attention to stuff. But I like to believe that basically that what I'm trying to say is I think Lordran, at least Dark Souls 1's version of Lordran, I think it's all an illusion. I think every bit of Lordran, except for maybe the kiln, which is why it appears in a different version of reality, is an illusion. I don't know exactly how much of it is and how much of it isn't, and I haven't really thought too hard about other places like the Undead Asylum and all that stuff, but I think Lordran is one big illusion. And that's not even the end of the theory. Not even close. Alright. Now that we're back here, on top of all the things that are missing from Anor Londo itself, like just in general from that part of Anor Londo, and the fact that the whole damn city is missing, you're gonna tell me that all of Lordran is gone too? Now I know the game says the lands are converging and all this stuff, but why would just part of the Anor Londo castle or palace or whatever you want to call it, why would just that be missing from Lordran and nothing else? Now you say, oh, but the Firelink Shrine is in the Dreadheap by itself. And so are a bunch of other places from like Dark Souls 2. And let's see, what else? What else might be in these games that are separate from what it used to be? Some people think that Faerun is Oolacile / the Darkroot Garden or Darkroot Forest. But the problem is that, let's just say, first of all, there's, besides the location of a few key items in there, that's still, in my opinion, I don't buy it. But when we're talking about Firelink Shrine, old Firelink Shrine being in the Dreadheap, and some of the Dark Souls 2 areas being in the Dreadheap by themselves, they are in the Dreadheap by themselves. First of all, I don't see Anor Londo in the Dreadheap at all. And second of all, this castle itself is not in the Dreadheap. Why is it here and not in the Dreadheap? I don't know, you're telling me the whole ass Lordran is gone. But just this palace remains. Not even parts of Anor Londo. But, and then there's another whole kingdom right over there and stuff. Like, I don't know. You're crazy, in my opinion, if you think that there's not something bigger going on here that we're supposed to have picked up on, but for some reason no one's picking up on it. Like I said, this is all gone. There's no pathway here. There's not even parts of the pathway or anything. That door's still not fucking open. I've always wanted that other room to be open, the one that is adjacent from the blacksmith over here. I mean, at least the blacksmith is still here, right? By the way, you ever notice the Deacons of the Deep were on here? Oh my god, they're not here. Hold up a fucking second. Oh my god, that's different too. There's etchings on those panels in the other game. That's weird. Is there something here usually? Oh, I'll have to check that. But yeah, okay, the statues are the same. Are the elevators the same? Is that how they look in the other game? What else? Obviously these curtains are hanging, but that could literally just be just whatever atmospheric detail. Obviously the dregs aren't on the floor, but you know that's clearly just because Aldrich has been here. What else? Oh hey look, there's little things in the back of the hood. Okay, these are sealed. These aren't supposed to be sealed. Those are not sealed in the other game. No, I mean, that's just very small detail. That could easily have been edited by architecture, masons, whatever. That could have been done, whatever. That's not a big deal. Although, I do think that that's interesting to point out. But, yeah, okay. And now, obviously, last but not least, Guinevere's room. I don't think there's anything different in there that I can pick up on. I'll compare them. Also, are these pillars here? I don't know. Anyway, fuck it. So yeah. Damn, that's a big couch. Nothing looks different in here. Really. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. But anyway. There's a lot of things that are just sort of different, but you know, not different enough to make people really think about it, except, you know, maybe me. Cutting to the next step. I'm basically just here to give reference to my theory for the Dark Souls 3 footage that I'm about to show, where clearly everything is much different. Main thing being that this hole is a downward hole that we fall down. We don't hit the ground and go under it in a tunnel. There's no tunnel like there is in Dark Souls 3. So I mean, that's the big thing. And then I'm gonna compare things in Dark Souls 3 when I get to it. Alright, so this is the drag heap. Like I said earlier, it just put the words on the screen. The drag heap. And this is the Dark Souls 1 Firelink Shrine. Things are blocked off as usual. Like I said, first of all, sadly, but you see, this isn't that big of a deal that there's no statue here. Like, that could have just been removed. That's fine. Obviously the chest not being here. That's fine. Whatever. I could deal with there being no statue here. But the big thing is this. There's a hole. Clearly one that Frampt probably could have come through. Now, you could say, all right, well, maybe this has just been here a really long time and maybe something dug a hole underneath. But then how, you know, where'd the rest of it go? Where'd the part, there was walls here that sunk down, right? I don't know. This I feel like could be a less important part of the theory. It's just another example, though, of things that are different in this version of the game than the other version, or the things that are this version of the thing in this game than the other game. Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, comparisons. It just, clearly this is not the same. Clearly there's something else going on here. And how is this in such perfect condition when the bottom part of it is missing that was here previously? You know what I mean? It just seems like all they had to do was copy the models, you know? Like, they didn't have to make brand new models. And even if they did make brand new models, they had those models to go off of. Now, obviously, this is different. Like, this is part of the dreg heap and everything being mixed up and all this bull crap. So I'm not saying there's anything about this outdoor area that matters. It's just mainly, and you can even see that there's like kind of a change, sort of, like right here. Like right here, it goes from this rocky, sandy wall to this bouldery wall, this boulder wall design that matches the rest of the room. But yeah, I don't know. It's just another detail that was different. That shouldn't be, you know. Let's see. Let's get a better look at it from this angle. It's funny how you can be fighting here the whole time. And, you know, like, never once look over there and say, that looks like Firelink. Alright, so, now that I've pointed out a lot of the inconsistencies dealing with Anor Londo and Andre and how, you know, Dark Souls 1 is interconnected and everything's close together, but it never explains why. And even though it does in Dark Souls 3 with the lens converging, Dark Souls 1 never says anything about that, as far as I'm concerned. But that even doesn't debunk the rest of the stuff. Dark Souls 3 likes to make Prince Lothric and his brother seem like the big bads, since they're the final boss before the Soul of Cinder and all of that. A lot of people think that, you know, they're just probably thinking, oh, Prince Lothric is the big bad guy, whatever. And really, what, you know, if you think about it, I'm sure if you're a big Dark Souls fan, a seasoned lore veteran maybe even, you may realize that it's very possible that Pontiff Sullivan is the real big bad. But what I am here to try and maybe explain as kind of the second part of this theory is that I think Aldrich is actually the true big bad of the entire Dark Souls universe. I think, you know, after Gwyn, because Gwyn obviously is a big bad guy when it comes to not letting the Age of Dark happen. I think Aldrich became the next big bad. I think he became the next guy that really took over. And the reason that I'm saying that is because think about this location, right? This is where the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, the boss fight is for the Dancer. That means that the Guardian of Lothric, the person that's Pontiff Sullivan sent to make sure that Lothric was safe, was sent here. Honestly, I don't know if that sentence just said made any sense. Pontiff Sullivan sent the Dancer of the Boreal Valley here to defend Prince Lothric and make sure that no one got to him. Because Prince Lothric, as anyone who's studied up on the lore and watched a lot of lore videos, you'll know that it's very likely that Pontiff Sullivan is kind of a mentor to Prince Lothric and has helped Prince Lothric come to the conclusion that he does not want to link the flame. Now, if Lothric was that important, why wouldn't Sullivan, who is arguably a tougher boss for most people than the Dancer, why wouldn't he be the one here? Why wouldn't his boss fight take place here? You might be thinking, oh, because he's the Pontiff. Well, why wouldn't he man up at his, his church, the headquarters of, his pontiffness, and all the things that he would do as a pontiff? Well, that might be a pretty important reason for him to stay back at Ithral. But I mean, wouldn't, if making sure Lothric was safe was so important, wouldn't he want to be here himself to make sure the job gets done correctly himself? Even if the Dancer is his best knight and the strongest thing he could send besides himself, I feel like Lothric obviously can't be as important as Aldrich. Which is why Pontiff Sullivan is guarding Aldrich himself. I don't know exactly what is going on there, like why, but I think my theory is that Aldrich is the guy in charge of everything, pulling the strings, and he has been for a very long time. And Pontiff Sullivan has been his own personal bodyguard and has kind of swayed Prince Lothric in the direction of what they're trying to do. Now, this isn't a perfect theory, and there's probably some holes in it, but what I'm saying, I said in the beginning of the video, these are brain teasers. These are just things that I've thought about before, and I'm trying to get them out into the community so other people can think about it that may be better at this than I am. And maybe, we can shed some light on stuff that might not be being noticed by everyone because either not enough people have really thought about it too hard, or whatever. It's not even that big of a deal, but I don't know. After seeing Hawkshaw's videos and some of Illusory Walls stuff and all this, I've been inspired to an Aegon of Astora, even the Ashen Hollow. I've been inspired to kind of bring up these ideas that I once thought about but just didn't feel like putting up in the community, hoping that maybe somebody would speak about it before I needed to, or before I decided to. I just think that Aldrich is in charge. Pontiff Sullivan is his bodyguard. They've swayed Lothric into agreeing to not link the flame again, and yeah, and that a lot of this stuff that's been happening since Dark Souls 1 even is really all the work of Aldrich. So yeah, anyway, cut into the next part. Not much left in the theory. So here are those etchings I was talking about. The can't tell if they're like completely carved out. It looks like they're just etched into the wood. Some dude, who knows who, and then what seems to be Deacons of the Deep, or whatever they were before that. I don't know. I forget the lore right now on the Deacons of the Deep and if they were something before the Deep was a thing. But these guys look exactly like the Deacons of the Deep, or whatever they were before the Deep was a thing. Which, I don't know, clearly the Deep is just the Abyss, but whatever. And then, yeah, okay. So there were Black Knight statues or Silver Knight statues here, and for some reason they're not there in Dark Souls 3, which is whatever. Doesn't really mean anything to me. But I'm just things I'm noticing that are different. And then obviously up there, like I said before, the hold on, I wanted to take a look at the elevators. Like I said before, minor detail, but there's openings here that you can fall through, and I really don't know why they would have changed that. Honestly, I think there's a railing all the way through here, and for some reason they stopped that. In Dark Souls 3 they added a railing, and I mean, I don't know why they would have done that, because there's no reason for them to block that off, you know what I mean? It's a wide enough walkway where, like, you shouldn't fall off. There's no reason why. There's no enemies up here in either version for you to fall off. And you don't even need those to be open for Ornstein to jump down in the actual cutscene, because he should be, with the way he can move, athletic enough to just jump over it. So I don't know why they would have changed that in Dark Souls 3. And obviously here's Guinevere's room. Maybe the knight statues aren't there in the other one. They're definitely not up there in Dark Souls 3. See, those guys are up there again. The random guy and the Deacons of the Deep. They're up there. I don't know if they're up there in Dark Souls 3. I'm just pointing them out now. And then clearly Guinevere, who already is an illusion, and we know that. Also, there's music playing, but I'm pretty sure that's just for effect, or maybe not. Maybe they intentionally played music. But anyway, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, looking at the elevators. The elevators. I mean, that's generally how they looked, right? I don't know, I'll make a post note and video if I remember that these look different in Dark Souls 3. But anyway, yeah, there's that. Some other things to note about this boss room before I get into the rest of my theory on Aldrich is that the knight statues on my left and on my right are different in the fact that in Dark Souls 1, the base under the waist is not legs, but is instead just like a podium shape. But there are clearly legs on these statues. Next up is the elevators. They are slightly different. I'm looking. Third thing is that with the battle with Ornstein and Smough, and how many times those pillars pretty much all get crushed before the fight is over, don't you think at least one of these pillars would be knocked down? And then finally, something else that isn't in Dark Souls 1, but I think is just partially for, I mean, it's easy to overlook and easy to think that, okay, they probably just changed that one day, are these curtain veil things. Notice that they kind of remind me and look like the veil of the dancer's hood. I don't know if that really means anything. There is a theory that the dancer is Guinevere's daughter, because the veil that the dancer wears says it's permitted only for the descendants of the royal family, of the old royal family, sorry. This is Anor Londo, where Guinevere was, and these veils are hanging. So I don't know if that's supposed to be some kind of nod to the lore with the dancer, or if the veil has more lore behind it that I don't know about, that could be part of the, illusions of Aldrich or whatever. But it's just things I thought I'd point out. Also, in Guinevere's room, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure in Dark Souls 3, the knight statues are not at the top as they are in Dark Souls 1. And all this will make sense in a moment when I explain my theory with Aldrich and his illusions. So for some reason, a lot of people seem to believe that Aldrich is in the process of eating Gwendolyn when we come into the room. When we enter the boss room, people believe that while the fight is happening, Gwendolyn is being devoured as we speak. That has never made sense to me. Not from the moment that I saw the boss fight or the moment that I heard people saying that that's what they believe, because slowly over time, as the game progressed through its age, I noticed that more and more people were going with the theory that he's devouring Gwendolyn as we fight him. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Mainly because he is so in control the way Gwendolyn is. He's got so many different tactics built up to use with Gwendolyn. I think he's just realized that having Gwendolyn out as a kind of a puppet for him to use is just the best option, because Gwendolyn has so many different options as far as spells are concerned to mix with the power, the physical raw strength that Aldrich probably has with his sludge form. I think he stopped devouring Gwendolyn, or devoured him completely and then mixed their bodies together, kind of like evolving into a... Because that thing on top of him looks like Gwendolyn, but when you look close enough, it really doesn't look exactly like Gwendolyn. It just looks similar to him, almost like it's a mix of him and Aldrich. So that, on top of the fact that he's got the part of the cloak that looks like Nito's cloak, and he has the Life Hunt Scythe miracle, and I believe there's part of the fight where the weapon looks like the Gravelord Greatsword, or whatever, Nito's bone weapon thing. I've always believed that Gwendolyn is already part of Aldrich, and that's how it's going to stay. I don't know why people think that he's in the process of devouring Gwendolyn as the boss fight is happening. Now, somewhere in the lore, not only does it say that while devouring Gwendolyn, he dreamt of things, but it also says somewhere, I don't know where, as far as what item it is on, but it says Aldrich was also able to absorb Gwendolyn's memories. That sentence alone was kind of enough for me to think about this type of theory. But everything preceding that, with Anor Londo being here and not being part of the rest of Anor Londo, the palace being here and not the rest of Anor Londo, nor the rest of Lordran, and certain things like Andre being a little different, and etc., all these different things. When I read that line, finally, it clicked for me that I've let myself get talked out of the theory before, but I truly believe that Aldrich is the main bad guy of Dark Souls 3 and probably the whole Dark Souls series post Gwyn, but that a lot of things in Dark Souls 3, possibly, but most of, if not all of Dark Souls 1, except maybe the kiln, are in the Undead Asylum maybe. I think they're all illusions. I think it's all illusions. Because I believe Nito is part of the Gwendolyn Aldrich combo, and if we killed him, then how is he part of Aldrich and Gwendolyn? I don't think Gwendolyn in Dark Souls 1 was even Gwendolyn. I think Gwendolyn in Dark Souls 1 was an illusion. I think all of pretty much Lordran was an illusion. And I think the entire thing was Aldrich leading you to the First Flame to link it again so that he didn't have to. And everyone until Dark Souls 3, when you kill Aldrich, that has linked the flame, is someone that Aldrich has convinced to link the flame through the illusions he is creating via Gwendolyn's memories and powers. That's why Andre speaks different in Dark Souls 1. That's why all the lands are so close together and interconnected, even though they shouldn't be. That's why parts of Anor Londo are not here in Dark Souls 3. That's why there's these different changes to architecture and different things, such as the railings on the top of this room, such as the Black Knight statues or Silver Knight statues, the placement of a few things like the Black Knight or Silver Knight tomb that's supposed to be, there's not supposed to be like an opening there. I think Irithyll might be Anor Londo, and because Gwendolyn's memories of Anor Londo aren't clear, or so are these other things. They're not clear memories. They're just partial memories of what he remembers. It's altered in his head to be what he wants to see, because that's how memories work. We alter things in our memories the way we perceive them. And I think that Anor Londo is so great in Lordran the way that it looks because he thought of it that way and remembered it that way, but actually Irithyll is just Anor Londo. Maybe. It's a wild kind of grasping theory, but that's why I call these brain teasers, because I haven't done a shit ton of research, and really it's just fun for me to think about these things. And if that's too wild for you, just remember that there's a bunch of people who believe that Ornstein and Smough weren't even actually there when you were fighting them, that they were also illusions, thanks to the Dark Anor Londo reveal with the two guys that are in the Anor Londo Palace after Dark Londo becomes a thing. People think that they were like, you know, the real people you were fighting or whatever. I don't know what we're fighting in Dark Souls 1, but I don't believe at least the bigger important bosses are actually there. I think they are something else, whether it's an illusion by itself or someone else that's there that is in place and is carrying the illusion. I don't know, but that's the theory and the evidence before it to cover it and make sure that everything is making sense with Andre and, you know, Anor Londo and all that stuff. That is the brain teaser. Try not to hate me too much. It's just a brain teaser. I haven't done enough research. Trying to just get people thinking. Don't destroy me. Have a great rest of your quarantine, everybody, and can't wait for Elden Ring to come out. Bye.